Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to Return of the Obra Dinn. So we've got one more group of flies here that indicate somebody died. Um, I guess maybe there's a foot hanging off the ledge there. But we almost ran out of paths, and we hardly have been able to fill in too much so far. So you do have this kind of weird situation where you get shown the whole story. Huh. Hmm. So yeah, you're kind of left. So this guy's leg, which maybe is a fake leg, and let's see, this guy has shot him, and he's the guy I think with the girl tattoo. So we know his name actually. Like, we know that he is number 37 on the roster, and the numbers actually matter. So, top man, Timothy Buttman. For the rest of this, we have this guy apparently getting more people on the boats to escape. Here we have a chicken. Here we have more people trying to escape, it seems, on the boats. It seems like there was probably not enough boats here. As is probably true for almost any game like this. Or any boat. There's probably not enough boats. So that unlocks chapter 3, murder, which we kind of needed that. We kind of need to see the whole story, I guess, before we could get the details of the story. This is very much like I'm gonna be shot with a gun. I'm gonna say unknown person because I don't fully recognize who this is. I don't think that's the captain. I don't think the captain would take a lady lady hostage like that. I think the captain's kind of shown as the hero of the story in the way that he was attacked by multiple people and still survived and then ended up shooting himself. And so next we're looking for the next body. Boom, boom, boom. Let's see. This is the guy that gets shot. And that opens up an interesting problem, certainly, in the fact that that guy is shot by firing squad and hung. So there's kind of multiple people that potentially are the people that are going to shoot him and murder him. And we want to know the real person that killed him. And the whole point of a firing squad is the thought that you won't know. So if we were to come back here and show the picture, this one, Justice at Sea, here you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 people that shoot him, and he's hanging not by his neck, so I guess he isn't strangled in this case. So that's going to be a very difficult investigation. Hmm. We know him. Miss Lim.
As captain of this ship and by the
Hmm.
authority of the East India Company and thus the crown.
They said his name straight.
Sentence you to death by firing line. Mr. Wolf.
Why was that not translated? Everything else has been translated. Okay. So we have one that narrowly misses him on one side, one that narrowly misses him on another side, and this one means this guy shot him and hit him. Whereas, actually there's two on this side that narrowly miss him, or at least graze him. So we now know that this guy is there, so if we can go and figure out who this is, or let's see, this is unknown soul shot this guy. Which, interestingly, you can't zoom in on the image of his head being covered, but you can do it over here. Hoksang Lao. We do know that that is the spear guy on the right. So then the next question would be, of the Chinese people, were there multiple limbs? We have a Hong Li and a Li Hong. But I don't see anybody actually by the name Lim. They seem to be giving nicknames to people, or Bonlon Lim, and that's from Formosa, not China. Interesting. Well, so this is the Formosan royalty. Wait a minute. So Hoksangling is from Formosa. So actually, this might be very easy to eliminate this down to. We just need to either now figure out the two names here. Alright. Well, that solves that. And you can see this is all this. So we're looking for the guy with the sketchbook, which is here. And we now know who that is. He was the one person not in the picture, Edward Spratt. We don't know if he died or what. But there's definitely a whole bunch of people all over the place. This one scene would potentially let you coordinate with a lot of people. We know that he was shot by a gun. I don't think anybody ever gets shot by an arrow in this game. So you have this monkey, you have goats. We could try We could certainly try a lot of stuff here to try and coordinate with other characters. Actually, I think since so many people are just alive right now, this information kind of fails to be useful. And the idea that this guy could have actually sketched this whole image is kind of ridiculous. He'd have to have like photographic memory or something to memorize the image and have all these subjects, because they're not going to stand around here for more than an hour. Well, let's see where the next dead body is. It's right here. And so that's the person that allegedly was murdered by this guy. And so we're going to take a big loop around, and it really does want you just to follow it. The problem I see with this game is puzzle games are niche, and it's giving you an experience much like what you would do if you were a film critic, in the sense that you would watch movies multiple times over and you'd look for the intrinsic details and really try to understand it. It's kind of the opposite of what most people do watching like a Marvel movie or an action movie. You watch it once and you enjoy the experience, and it's the experience alone that matters. You don't look for the subtleties or how a director may have thought about putting sound effects here or there, or how the writer may have thought about having certain sentences written to foreshadow or tease things or give more character development. This whole game, you really are going to be told the whole story, which is effectively a movie, or perhaps better described as 10 separate stories that are connected, and then you're going to have to go back and get all the details and fill in the gaps on the things you don't know, which is roughly equivalent of watching like all the Star Wars movies and being able to and trying to name every single like clone trooper or stormtrooper in the series.
Hello?
Hmm.
Who is there?
Hmm.
Who is that? Is someone hurt? Senor Nichols, is that you? What are you doing down here?
Nichols.
All fine here. Just sorting some things.
Hmm.
Watch your step. Here, let me help you.
So this guy, I think, was robbing him. Edward Nichols, second mate. Would that make sense? Sure. That would make sense. Let's just look at the list and make sure there's nobody else by the name Nichols. Okay. So there's somebody else here. And we can see there is a very much glowing and spinning rock, which is way different visually than anything else we've seen in the game. So this is obviously an important thing. It's not a rock, it's a seashell. One assumes a magical seashell. And this is, in a weird way, kind of the MacGuffin of this story, in the sense that there were shells mentioned at the very beginning of the game, and that was probably 2 hours ago in gameplay. Let's see. Who is this? Well, he's got a violin. So is anybody labeled as a musician? No. Not unless he's a steward or yeah, steward would be about the only thing I could think of that would even count. It's a little weird to have kind of a loading section when you walk through the door, but it's hidden well in this game. You don't really see that. Yeah, when you're walking through the doorway, it loads to the book, then hides that it's loading a different instance. But yeah, there's something I think still to be said about the. I've lost my train of thought there. So we're looking for flies. It's where I think this still goes. We're standing on the upper deck section. And I think there's something over here. Nope. Could be wrong. We get the watch when we look at her, but we can't get close enough to that. The assumption I think to make probably does boil down to down here somewhere is another open section. But not yet. But not through that door. See, I think that's where it was before. Did we never scan this? I'm fairly certain we scanned that. And wasn't this the where the barrel was? With the flies? Yeah. This door's closing on you. It kind of almost comes off like a creepy horror aspect. And I guess there might be an argument to make a horror game somewhat around this idea. But I don't know. Yeah, Is this new? I think that's new because the watch didn't flip open automatically. Hmm.
Those ungodly beasts carry a curse. Throw
Hmm.
them back or doom us all.
Hmm.
Tie him up and put him in the lazarette with those things.
Hmm.
He may yet find his senses. Come on.
All's fine, John.
Hmm.
Been in worse spots, I think.
We have John.
Where's the rest of his leg?
So this guy's John. Either John Davies. If there's only one John, I'll be very surprised. That's a fairly common name. Or John Naples. So we can't answer that yet. This is somebody who's an unknown steward. At least we can put it that way. Is this the captain? Yeah. And see, this might be a case very much where you are going to have to pay a lot of attention to the voices of people. But for all you know, that was the guy talking and he could be the first mate steward. So let's actually check that. Can he be a first mate steward? No, he can't. So I think he's the captain's steward. He seemed to have cut off his leg. And then is there anything else to really see? And that starts chapter 5, Unholy Captives. I have no idea how he died, but I suppose torn apart might be something. That's my guess on that, and that really is just a guess. And that's a really wild guess. Part of the problem with this game, I think a lot of people will have, and I'll probably complain about too, is the general uncertainty. And usually in puzzle games, I would prefer to be told directly and straightly that there were more people up here that I missed. I would really prefer to be told that I did it right and I got the solution right. And we do get some of that eventually, but not until you're confirmed at least 3 guesses, which is a little bit of a limitation. Well, more than the confirmations, what I'm really looking for is just more clues. things that would 100% guarantee my guesses are right. And you're not given that. You're going to have to make some deductive reasoning explanations. And certainly if you're a creative person, you can think of any number of opposite or different thoughts that also would explain away who a person is or how they died. Like, you can fairly easily argue that all of these people died of infection. Right, so this guy has been crushed by them bringing in what looks like some kind of mermaid-like creature. Here. I think I know who this guy is now. He is the carpenter or carpenter's mate. Winston Smith or Marcus Gibbs? I guess in this case, if we are select something, we can select the wrong answer multiple times. But see, right then and there, wouldn't that have solved something if I'd gotten three guesses right? But maybe it only triggers in certain points. And let's see. This unknown soul. I think he's a unknown topman, because it seems like all the topmen are Chinese. And we really are just going to start getting down to having to just be racist here. Crushed by, it's not stones, not by cargo, by beast. Yeah, beast is probably the best answer there. We didn't really look around enough. A lot of these people, though, not really going to show you much. Just their faces and what they look like. But you have this visual effect that also runs afoul of identifying people by their faces. You have the fact that it's not in color, which also you could easily have had somebody wear a this should be the artist, yeah. Somebody could have had different colors instead of just also a few people having different outfits, and that would have been helpful too. So in a weird way, this artistic style that was probably the predecessor of this whole thing happening in the first place also becomes a limiter on the game that makes it more difficult than it perhaps needs to be. And as long as we keep finding dead bodies, we're still moving the story forward. Definitely does feel like we've we've got a few mistakes. And we now know that the watch does not flip open for new scans. It only flips open for old one.
Give him the tea and I can fry us a solid meal, boys.
Hmm.
No, take it slow.
What's it, gentlemen? There's a free shell here.
Hmm.
Let's have a look.
No, get back.
So you can see that these creatures, while they may look like mermaids, also do seem to have heavy spikes. So it almost becomes questionable, are they even the same creature that we've seen before, and do they just grow out these giant crab legs and spikes, or they're just a considerable amount of spike shooting creatures that exist. You can see here this guy is making a mad dash this direction, where everybody else is kind of just overseeing. And the little effect of it closing in on you, I suppose, is designed to make you feel like you're running out of time to make a decision. Well, we actually know who this guy is because he gave us a hint. He is either the butcher or the cook. And I think he's sounded a little Irish. And if we're wrong, we'll be wronged. Like, I must have a lot wrong, frankly. 2 more bodies up there. Am I supposed to go around and up? Back to the main deck? There's a lot of people here. That the game is just teasing you, going, oh yeah, you didn't walk up here and look? Well, too bad. That's not gonna matter. Or you're gonna have to go back and look later. So yeah, we missed a lot of opportunities to see a lot of people. We're not sure yet if those opportunities matter. It may be very well that I'm just getting the tip of the iceberg as far as solutions, and that there's a lot of hints that have flown right over my head.
What the hell is going on? What do you know about these things? About the chest and your dead friends?
这是虾米？来，全部供出来，拢是恁害啦！迄个害得较对无过好，是啥人温死的啦？He talk about a shell. Very dangerous.
Shell? What shell?
So we have this guy. Is he stabbing this guy, or did something just stab him? Like, blood really wouldn't be coming out of the other guy. No, this just spiked him. And they kind of intentionally set that whole scene up to make it look like... Let's zoom on this guy. I'm just gonna call him the surgeon. He's got a bag. I'm gonna be fairly flippant with all of this. So they were heaving out a monster, and apparently either the Formosa group or the Chinese group, I think the Formosa group, knew about the shell and that it must be protected or that it was very dangerous. This unknown soul, we don't know how he died. And this unknown soul, I don't know how he died either. Like, what I needed to do is zoom in on these two characters. We can now say he was spiked, and we don't know who his name is, so we don't want to guess yet, but we may get to that point. Guess this guy in the back didn't die? Yeah. And we could probably guess some of the female names, considering there's only a couple. Like if I came over here and just assumed you have a Miss Jane Bird. Here. And yeah, it's kind of pointless to actually do that though, because you're also putting in garbage information that there's really no reason to do that yet, because we don't know how these people died either, so there's no confirmation that's gonna come about from that. Whereas, let's see, this guy, I said he was a surgeon. That didn't work. Apparently saying it's the surgeon's mate doesn't work either. You can see they're bringing this either up or trying to get rid of that chest. So they brought the chest from like a different port or a different boat. And I don't think there's anything more that can be done at the moment. See, my suggestion wasn't a new game plus, as I said before. I thought about it. What I suggested when I tweeted Lucas Pope is that he would randomize the names and have a database of names that would randomize, and you'd probably have to randomize the positions and the passenger crew number also, so that there was a speed run a way to play this. Because unfortunately, as somebody who likes to watch an occasional speed run, it would be incredibly easy to simply, I guess that's all of this chapter. It would be incredibly easy to simply come over to the game, choose this, and then just go through here and fill out all the solutions. If you were going to cheat the game, that's all walkthrough would require you to do, is just fill in all the deaths, and maybe there's a little bit more to that, but I'm not sure it really is. I think you wouldn't have to walk through any place or see any scenes. And that's just a really boring speed run. Even if you were going to make a special version of the speedrun, special rules, where you have to see all the scenes, there still would be moderately little challenge, because it would just be running as fast as possible from point A to point B. And so it makes a game like this not really a good speedrunnable game. And most puzzle games are not speedrunnable. But there is a reason here where I could see people wanting to play this a second time. And there are enough names in the game that you very possibly could not remember half of the solutions. So now we are walking on the ocean, and you just have kind of this invisible thing, which that's a bit of a switch. Who is this? That guy. So we can mark this. We have him marked as the second mate. So we can see this guy seems to be dead. And you can see there's a mermaid-like creature. Then kind of looks like a fourth or fifth different creature. You can see her. And we can see is another mermaid-like creature. Yeah, at least when we were walking on the top rigging, we were standing on something that's solid. And this opens chapter 4, The Calling. So he was shot. With a gun by, let's see, an unknown passenger. Now we get the walking sound effect, which you don't get when the music's playing, or at least you don't hear it. And see, there's just like a question, is she supposed to be dead? Yeah, we still don't know the name of these two people, and once we do, we'll have a lot of solutions there. And there's kind of no way out of this area. See, it's kind of confusing though. Like, why would this guy of the Formosan royalty be on the ship shooting this guy unless he kidnapped and maybe killed those other Formosan people who were on the ship earlier? Of course, we don't really have to speculate. We can kind of figure it out. And we probably do have to go forward to figure it out. And because these bodies are on the ocean, they have to be recovered and moved post-mortem for you to be able to scan them. This guy's hand's missing. Looks like. In a weird way, you're kind of missing all the good action in the game. And so now we are even further away from the ship. It's weird that you get past the dots and you're just standing on blackness. Like, you kind of would prefer to be able to see. She definitely looks dead. But they were clearly in a fight. And alright. We still don't know who he is, but we see that he opened the top of this and it did some kind of fire, which I assume is magical fire, and burned his hand off. And I kind of wonder if him opening the chest maybe that did cause. Let's see what please explain does. This person's face appears blurred. Their fate may be known and can be entered now. Trying to name them with their faces blurred would be unproductive. We'd already seen this. So that's just a reminder. So all the Formosian people seemed to die when they were trying to either release the shell or get the shell. And that probably all occurred, relatively speaking, somewhere over there, although in actuality it would have been miles and miles away. She definitely looks like she's been spiked. A lot of people getting spiked. It could very well be that the mermaids wanted the shell, and boy, do they actually look like mermaids now. And he released its magical power or released some kind of magical power. So you have a magic shell that's in the drawer down at the bottom, and then you have some other magic things. So burnt might not even be the right term. He might be electrocuted. However, I'm still not sure if I know how she died. Is him. Yeah, we're gonna have to go back through pretty much all the images, although I'm not sure now is the best time to do it. Okay. She was either clawed or spiked. And that doesn't seem to be right. I don't think she was spiked. I think she was clawed. Finally. Well done. 3 more fates correct. The carpenter's mate was right. Which, honestly, what we should do is we should go through here and we should just look at anybody named. But it doesn't show us if it's right or not from the screen, so we'll just have to hit A on everything that's named and try and figure it out. Post sync long. That one's right. We just don't know who shot him. Yeah, a lot of these, the names are probably right. That was right. We don't know who shot him. This guy's not the butcher, so he must be the cook. Or I'm gonna have to like find the memories he's in and go scan his. He's probably not either. So let's just put that back to unknown. We can at least do a little bit of correction here. That's wrong. And we just guessed that because he was near the purser's office. So it was a great example of why guessing isn't a smart move. And let's see, we still need to find the doom. But pretty much, with the exception of the bargain that doesn't unlock until the very end, we are that might be right. We just don't know who attacked him. And so we don't know what fate befell these 2 females, but we know they both escaped. So if we can figure out where these all survived, if all these people survived, then that might solve 4 answers as kind of giveaway. Because if we know, for instance, that this guy or this guy is the person who wrote this book, then we know he was on the ship with everybody else, and we can then at that point assume that everybody else on the ship survived, and at that point went to the same place. And it seems like Captain Roberts had to shoot himself. The last person alive would have had to shoot themselves, the way this works. So if one of these people is Henry Evans, then we know he's in Morocco. So if we could say this guy is Henry Evans, and he is alive in Morocco, which would be either Africa? At a certain point you have to know where Morocco is, and that's going to be a problem. I feel like it's Africa, but I'm very possibly wrong, so let's look at the map. Europe, Africa. Map does not go any further to the west. Canary Islands, Madeira. Morocco. French Office of Affairs in Morocco, I think, is probably a red herring. It's funny, look, when you hit left on the control stick and right on the left control stick, it gives you a prompt saying, no, you can't turn the pages that way. You have to use left bump and right bump. It does kind of feel like Lucas Pope is a little bit anal retentive in the sense that he will just straight up tell you that, yes, I could have programmed this game to work the way I would have wanted it to, but instead I chose not to. East Indies. Yeah. So I guess it really comes down to, do I believe Morocco is in the Middle East, or do I believe it's at the northern tip of Africa? I mean, could be in Europe. Well, I suppose that's an example of maybe I'm gonna have to pull out a map. But also I won't be confirmed with that information until later. And frankly, if he's alive now in Morocco, that doesn't inherently mean that that's where any of the other people are. Here we have a guy that's looks like he's been stabbed. This path is probably So these mermaid-like creatures were apparently trying to get the shell. And who's this character? There's a paddle. And see, she's got the shell on her. Or a shell on her, maybe. We now see that she was clawed by a terrible beast. Is he O'Higgins? It might not be a bad idea to just name a couple of people O'Hagan. Just name all three of them O'Hagan. Yeah, I have no idea. But see, I kind of want to go back and just look here. Yeah, this creates a path. So you go through dead body, through dead body, through dead body. So to come back and see any of this information is probably the most difficult part of the game. Like, I see him, and I see a struggle occurring, but I don't see how he dies. He's on his knees. He's, I think, missing in the previous images. So is thrown overboard an option? Drowned is. Yeah. Torn apart is a little too extreme. Poisoned, I don't think ever gets used. Poison would be a really hard one to figure out. Fell overboard. Let's go fell overboard. But also, I have no idea who he is. And there's an interesting thought, I suppose, also to think about. About how let's see, if I do this and then do this and then yeah, we may have to bookmark memories of this guy later, and that might be the trick that we'll have to do later with a lot of characters, is just going through all the memories we see them in. Yeah, I'm not sure if the insurance company will choose to not pay people simply because they managed to fall overboard. See, this guy's been spiked. He's been stabbed with a spear. This guy looks like he's falling overboard. But oddly, you have to actually see their death. And if you don't see their death, you can't answer the question. So we're going to just go through all of these people. Bing. Alright. So she named the guy. So is this Bing? Finally. Eat Bing Sai. Which then lets me put him as Chiotan. I hope that's right. And here we can see this mermaid creature did spear this guy. And yet bringing up his death doesn't seem like I can do that yet. I think we're just going through the walk around. But there's nothing interesting, particularly in this case, with the walk around. Like, at least on the face of it, it seems like you're just seeing the same thing you've seen 3 or 4 times. Okay. He was speared by a beast. Well done. 3 more fates correct. So he was speared by a terrible beast. He was burned to death. He was spiked by a terrible beast. Which it almost is not worth it to try and go through this whole thing and see if maybe there's some mistakes. I think we'll just gonna have to be willing to live with some mistakes. Unless things like this would make this easier. Well, obviously he's not alive in Europe. Otherwise we would have triggered something. There. Alive in the United Kingdom? And I guess with magical abilities, you can kind of brute force the game. Here we have another guy. It seems like he's been speared. Although it does feel like these mermaids have metal spears, which makes very weird to have metal weapons if you live under the sea. So it seems like several people kidnapped the Formosans and stole their treasure and said that this must not fall in the water. Okay. And then here we have our breasted mermaid, multi-breasted mermaid creature. It's gonna be a hard time to get all of these people down. It's quite a lot of them. Betraying basically the entire rest of the ship. But there's kind of nothing to do here, and we can see that there's a door to finally get us back to the ship, but we're going kind of backwards in time. I'm not sure if every single path is like that, where you start at the end and work your way back. I know in general the whole game is like that. You see the last moments of the captain, and he's the last person alive on the ship, obviously, but I'm not sure that every single memory always goes backwards, but maybe it does. That's something where it'd be really easy to overlook or not understand. And see, we could try any number of images here. Like, do we just assume that this guy also fell overboard? Because I mean, we didn't see him at any other place. And then I'm just gonna say they fell overboard. And then we know who shot him now, that it was Tan on that one. So we can fill out that information. A lot of room for mistakes and all of that. Interesting that there's a little line here. You would kind of think you wouldn't animate that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 2 slashes of people who survived. 2 wayward souls disappeared during the events of this chapter. Their fates are cataloged here. Well, I am once again going to stick with they fell overboard. Interesting, the right stick also brings up the prompts sometimes. Like up and down on the left stick selects things, but right and left, if you press them enough, just tell you to use left bump, and then the right stick does the same thing as the left stick. So the question we should ask ourselves, are we now done with the story? I think without the big revelation of the bargain, which we don't get until we 100% the game, then we've kind of seen everything. Well, not the Doom. There's something we missed on the Doom, which probably means we actually missed a body on around the Doom. And then conclusion, bargain won't unlock. And then maybe one more page on escape. I think we've done everything on the end. So yeah. Interesting course we've taken, certainly. So, and I'm fairly certain at some point the game does just say you've done enough, you can end the game now, so you could get like a bad ending if you so chose. We're gonna have to remember, like, if you walk up to something and the pocket watch flips open, you've seen it before. Although almost certainly the thing that we're looking for isn't a body, but a bunch of flies. And maybe this is one of those shells that is glowing in the corner and not an indication of something that you need to scan. Well, there's definitely a lot more work to be done. And I'm not 100% sure how we're going to go about this. I think we're probably going to have to just make some real guesses as far as the type of people. Like, we have an Italian passenger and then 2 English passengers. That wouldn't be too hard to do, particularly since the 2 English passengers are female. We need to figure out an Indian guy who would be the ship's steward. Doesn't look like there's too many Indian guys. There's a topman who's from Persia. There's several Chinese people, which the topman and might very well be a case of just guessing a lot of things. We don't know how a lot of them died, unless we're just going to say they all were electrocuted, which maybe they all were. We have a guy from New Guinea named Maba, which probably looks pretty wild if we look through all the pictures. We have some Russian people. Maybe we could run some stereotypes on what Russians look like. Let's see, more people from India. Lots of people from England. So, yeah. If we could get them down by quality at least, and if we could label all the seamen as seamen, and all the topmen as topmen, and all the midshipmen as midshipmen, then we might have at least a starting point. Otherwise, what we're going to have to do is just walk around and see if we can find whatever body probably still exists. Like, somewhere around here, there's a body. But I doubt the map is actually going to show me where it is. Or there's some flies or something. Yeah, we might very well just want to walk into every person's room and see if maybe we can find something that indicates each person. That might work too. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.